Tag TV and Tag Radio. Be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Marketing and technology. The convergence of a completely integrated set of tools that allow for content personalization and one-on-one marketing message delivery. Sitecore, SharePoint, and CRM systems are at the core of this convergence. Not only how it accomplishes its purpose, but literally how one thinks. Mix social media like games, apps, monitoring, and engagement with some email, social, and SMS marketing automation. Blend in a bit of web, tablet, kiosk, digital signage, Facebook, and a touch of mobile with just the right user community internet portals and collaboration. Suddenly, technology, decisions, and marketing strategy become one. Greetings, everyone. It's Friday, December 14, 2012, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. Up to the Tech Talk. Where does marketing make an impact in a new era of integrated technology? Ad Age magazine, in a recent article, stated technology is no less a marketing tool than market research, that CMOs must cross-functionally facilitate and identify technology that can enhance marketing activity and brand building. Seamlessly integrate technology into the marketing strategy. The era of the marketing technologist has begun. And to explore this emerging interaction of both management and process, VP of Business Development for Arke Systems, Chris Spears. Chris is responsible for sales, marketing, and developing partnerships, and along with his team, handle all communications to the marketplace for this pioneering marketing technology consulting leader, helping clients like Spanx and the Atlanta Braves, among many other noted brands, develop a marketing technology vision for the future. Chris has served in key software development roles at Turner Broadcast Systems, Soltech, and Harry Norman Realtors, with uniquely positioned experience in custom app development, interactive web technologies, and Microsoft technologies to help clients and our Tech Talk Tag Radio audience understand what is possible when marketing and technology converge. Experts predict a decade of groundbreaking advancement ahead. Learn if you will be ready to leverage it as we Tech Talk marketing technology with industry expert and VP at Arke Systems, Chris Spears. Chris, welcome to Tech Talk.
Frank, thanks for having me.
Convergence, we talk about a lot in a lot of different areas. I know that there was a time, at least some of us thought, that marketing was somewhat of an art and maybe technology was kind of a science, and maybe that's a little bit exaggerated, but to a degree, you can actually still find people out there that go back to a time about reach and frequency and other things that were kind of the tools of the trade as far as being an advertiser or a marketer or now lead generator. I think one of the things our listeners, our members, are going to be very curious about is the evolution of marketing and technology forming what is now called marketing technologists. Let's start with a definition of that. What's a marketing technologist?
Absolutely. At Arke, we think of a marketing technologist as somebody that's spanning the gap between the marketing department and technology. So if you think about that, traditionally, and marketers have access to an agency, and an agency has a lot of creativity, a lot of strategy work inside of it, and very little technology inside of it. And then you've got the IT consulting company, and those groups are great at implementing the technology, but aren't really thinking about it with a marketer's mindset. So bridging the gap there, you've ended up with these marketing technologists who not only understand how to do that implementation of a piece of technology, but the lingo and the goals and reasons that a marketer wants that tool in place.
How developed is that marketplace? I think, obviously anyone who's watched the evolution, you could actually, it's almost like watching corn grow. There would have been a time you couldn't stand around long enough because it would take forever. Now it just seems like a kind of Jack and the Beanstalk thing where, boom, just 1 minute it's one way and the next minute it's something else. I guess the point I'm making is I know that there was just a couple of years ago kind of a major quandary for CIOs and CTOs because all of a sudden they were getting entry into the boardroom, and it wasn't just about what's our technology needs. It was actually how do we get new leads, how do we continue to do customer management services and customer relationship management and all those things. And a lot of times these guys really weren't prepared for it. So I'm sure that now this marketing technologist is progressing into, or maybe already is, playing a major role in most organizations.
I think it's an evolution. If you look back 12 months ago and, number of times that term was searched on Google, it would be almost zero. If you look today, it's in the millions. There's also a number of reports from the analyst Gartner, specifically calls out that the CMO will outspend the CIO in marketing technology by the year 2017. So the marketer, the CMO, will have a larger technology budget than the CIO will. And you couple that with some other interesting facts. There's becoming an office of for marketing technologists.
It's amazing. I'm not surprised, but it is an amazement that number one, in a 12-month period of time, the evolution. I mean, things. We used to talk about dynamic, and then we talked about fluidity, and then it was dynamic fluidity. When something like, the evolution, I guess it's that moment when the spark hits. I mean, it was already there. As I was mentioning, it seems like for years now there's been this growing, I wouldn't say conflict, but certainly kind of making room in the boat for both the marketing efforts as it reached into technology and the technology efforts as it reached back into marketing. One of the questions having an opportunity to deal with, I'm going to call a pioneer and a futurist because obviously you're in the space, you've already got clients, and some of the clients, as I'm sure a lot of our listeners may recognize, are pretty strong branded companies that obviously are showing a tremendous amount of trust and credibility in your talents and capabilities. How should companies measure the value and utilization of, say, marketing technology? I know I go back when I mentioned earlier about reach and frequency. I mean, we actually used to talk about a magazine and how much audience and distribution it had, and we used to joke about pass-along. They'd multiply their distribution by how many people actually took a copy of it and passed it along. I'm sure now there's big data and analytics and all of that kind of thing.
Hey, absolutely. Great question. At Arke, we've developed a digital marketing maturity model. And by that, I think it covers what you were just asking about the value and utilization of the marketing technology. I think at its simplest level, it's keeping up with trends faster, right? So moving into these categories so that your agency doesn't have to worry about building out a tool set. The tool set's available to them, and they can just execute campaigns on it. I think as you move up that value chain, that maturity model, it's going to get to, maybe today your insight is how many visitors are on my website. And I look at that more like I've driven how many miles, but it doesn't really tell me where I got, versus conversion and goal setting on your website that says this is the specific outcome that I want. Drive me to that, right? Stop tracking the number of people that have liked your page and track on Facebook and track the number of people that have converted because they liked your page.
And I'm sure that's just scratching the surface. I mean, obviously that's the beginning of something like, I know just a couple of months ago, I guess maybe longer, a year or so ago, Google was talking about moment of truth, the idea that somehow or another they were going to be able to disrupt your purchasing decision right at the moment you were about to make it by making you an offer for something else, another deal. Right. And the idea of when you get a cash register receipt at Target and you turn over the back of it and there's coupons on it, it's because all of that data and information has been, again, big data captured by these supercomputers, but then analyzed by those computers and tells something like a propensity and offers a deal. I guess is that sort of, I'm an amateur looking into your world, but is that where it's headed? Is it going to be a B2B type play as well for that type of situation?
I think the personalization is probably more powerful in a B2B space right now. I think at a mass scale, consumer companies are doing really well at this. Target has a great program. If you haven't heard that story about Target identifying the woman was pregnant before the woman knew she was pregnant, that would be a great one to go research. They did analysis that said you've just shifted.
That's really big data.
Oh yeah, it's huge. They knew. Let me restate that. They knew before the father knew.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little bit better. I'm thinking.
And it was the woman had shifted her online purchasing from scented lotion to unscented lotion.
Okay.
And that is some massive triggering event that says you're likely pregnant. And now we're going to skew how all the coupons we put in front of you, the emails we send you, everything that you get is now going to cast a light towards coming into our store and purchasing baby-related items.
Well, I knew that Google was kind of looked at as a higher authority, but I didn't realize it could actually get to the level where it could predict a pregnancy. And I'm not saying Google was necessarily involved in that, but you know what? I honestly think that at the time, I mean, obviously our habits and the propensity, it's going to be interesting. Well, let's talk for a second about the whole movement. You know, it doesn't happen in a vacuum, so it actually is exponential in the sense that it changes the whole buying habits, right? I mean, it's a case where, you know, if people are being, in a sense, given an opportunity. Well, for example, one of the things that's coming up and kind of stumbling around because I'm fascinated by what you do and how well you do it, and how quickly you've taken a position in the space and are already providing leadership. And I guess the Georgia Technology Summit, one of the joys I get to do every year is I'm on the organizing committee, and this year they're delving in the idea of a global commerce revolution. And really what they're talking about, subline, is like innovation in every interaction. And the idea of not only fintech and those kind of technologies where, in a sense, we no longer need a credit card, we no longer need a check, we can deal with mobile devices, and we can make purchases ideally without any currency, not ideally, literally without any currency. Do you see these analytics and the ability of marketing technologists not only providing a more efficient or effective way to do business, lead generate and do marketing, but actually maybe disrupting the way the ecosystem works in a retailing environment or in a B2B environment? I guess that's kind of a futuristic leapfrog, but do you see a difference in, say, the way business is conducted in another 10 years because of these things?
Oh, absolutely. When I think about the bigger picture, technology has changed business and will continue to change business in interesting ways. What I hear when you say, the TAG Summit and kind of the theme, I think connected device experience, right? So one that I love to talk about would be, why when I get in my car does my GPS not automatically update with the address of where I'm going? Send me there, and then offer to read me the LinkedIn profile of the person I'm meeting with. From a business aspect, that kind of connecting those devices and creating that moment of innovation for an experience. I think the other aspect that will really have an impact on business in general is what I call the stitching together of profiles. So if you think about you as a digital consumer, you visit TAG on the web, and then you visit TAG on your mobile device, and then you visit TAG on your tablet. And all of these are disconnected experiences that TAG doesn't realize that's the same person. And as you can start to stitch all of those visits together, I can start to market to you differently, right? I can start to deliver. Well, every time you're on the website, you're looking at the calendar. So I'm going to bubble that up to the homepage. When you visit from your phone, you're digging into articles. When you're on your tablet, some reason you're always looking at careers. How do we start to identify those pockets and adjust the experience accordingly? Okay,
so we're heading in that direction. I think most of us are, one of the things that is a challenge is there's an old cliche that says a man can make the same mistakes for years and call it experience. I think when you're dealing in a lot of these rapid changes, it's kind of hard to get out of the rut you're in. You feel a trust and a comfort level. But ideally, when you realize it's not just about precedent or projection, it's not about increasing sales, maybe it could be about survival, you need to start looking at where do you start. What would you recommend as the first step for some of our listeners, maybe potentially even some clients in terms of personalizing the web experience for their customers?
Yep. Personalization on any of those digital experiences could mean something huge, or it could mean something fairly simple. Right, so I think the beginning of a personalization conversation starts with A/B testing, which would be take two of the same page, make small adjustments to it and see which one does better. Right, that's the simplest form of personalization that an organization can do, to test different things. That's what personalization is. It's saying, I think I know this about you. Let me test this and see if it causes you to do what I want more frequently. Right, I think at the other end of that spectrum of personalization, it can be filtered off just an unlimited amount of data. Right, so imagine when I visit from my browser, the thing that I've just told that web server is what part of the country I'm located in, my time zone, am I visiting from a corporate IP block or from home. Sites aren't really taking advantage of that information yet. right? They're not utilizing that to say, okay, here's what we should be displaying this person. It's a person visiting this television station website during the day. Let's show them, the shows that are on tonight, because clearly they're not going to be watching them right now. And then I think the other side of that is when you get into some of these bigger organizations, think about insurance companies, and we've done a couple of projects in this space that they have a massive amount of information on you: number of kids, age, where you live, income. The message, the marketing message that they should be delivering is different based on your demographic information. A 55-year-old male that's close to retirement should get, the different imagery than a 25-year-old male that's just getting started, but they both have insurance, right? One should be the picture of the couple at the beach, and the other should be, moving in town. So how do you create those moments that the content messages resonate better, the imagery resonates better, and then they're more likely to convert?
Now, some of it's generational. I would assume that as you progressively have been, I don't know if you can have been older. The more mature prospects have been conditioned in a certain level of technology. Part of where I'm heading here is security and privacy. From a generational standpoint, you got the other end of that spectrum that has never known anything but maybe Facebook. I mean, I certainly am familiar with it and use it myself, but also I've got daughters, and I'm amazed at how open they are and the discussions they're willing to have. I guess my question is, do you see privacy making a difference at all, or is it a case that at some point the consumer just simply gives it all up for whatever freedoms and convenience that's provided by the technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that there will be a lot of opt-in or opt-out of this type of, it'll be like the do not call list. Do not personalize. I don't want you to store or track anything on me, and then, maybe some sites will listen to it, maybe they won't. I think there is a bigger topic around this that is, are marketers going to be able to police themselves, or will they continue to push the envelope until the government steps in and polices us? In Europe, most of this level of personalization is not legal. Keeping this level of information, even on anonymous visitors, isn't allowed. So will we experience laws like that, or will it continue to be a little bit more the Wild West?
Well, I'm not sure what the Wild West has a standard that it's compared against, so that when we think about how things used to be, what's going on today is the Wild West. Go out 10 years, and we're going to think these are the good old days, and so it isn't the Wild West. Now maybe we talk a little bit about first steps and kind of visioneered a little bit into how you begin and that kind of stuff. Let's talk about working with some of the clients that you're already involved with. Surely they're running into some challenges. Maybe talk a little bit about the other side of the perspective. What are some of the bigger problems that your clients are having?
I think it's staying educated. Over and over again is from the lowest ranks inside of a marketing and IT department, and then more so as we go up the chain, there is a lack of information, education, understanding around this whole category. Whether it's web content management systems, marketing automation tools, customer database systems, CRM tools, the majority of people might be familiar with some of those buzzwords, but have no real defined vision for how they're going to integrate and make marketing better across the organization. So we spend a lot of time up front with our clients educating, right, bringing them in to understand that this is where they can go if they follow these, we implement these set of tools, get them talking the right way.
Well, wouldn't it be sort of the same way that it used to be with a pure IT play, where you outsourced to your consultant simply because you couldn't keep up with it, and that in reality it wasn't about it? I'm a CEO, and I don't want to know how it works. I just want to know what it does. I want to be able to trust an organization that's going to take care of me. Because truthfully, I think from an entrepreneurial standpoint, or from a business owner or business manager standpoint, it's like a tsunami. I mean, you want to throw your hands up and go, I quit. I can't keep up with this. I just quit. Let it drown me. I'm not going to try to fight it anymore, because every time I turn around, there's something new.
Yeah, I think the reason that companies are looking at this as more of a core part of their business is if you look at the overall landscape, agencies tend to turn over with some level of frequency. If you let whatever agency is in the organization at the time drive all of the technology, every time that turns over, you're basically hitting the reset button. So our big clients are looking at, I need a platform that I'm going to hand to the agency and say, work on this. Stop spending 50% of our overall marketing budget re-implementing technology every 2 years.
I get it.
So it's becoming a little bit more of a core competency and critical to the business, and especially when you start to think about the dollars that, when you're talking about it as the CMO spending more money than the CIO. A lot of those systems are going to end up SaaS, but there's also a good number of them that are on-premise and need to be owned by the organization more so than some revolving series of consultants.
Okay, so we've got everybody kind of engaged. They've been curious. They've heard a lot about it, maybe gone to a Starbucks or had lunch with a couple of their buddies, and they've talked about it, a challenge. Maybe on the 19th hole after a game of golf, they've sat in the lounge and labored over the frustrations of it all. But obviously it's not going to change. They've got to learn and understand what's going on, and obviously you're a resource for that. But one of the things I want to take advantage of as our time begins to close is to maybe take a look a little bit ahead. I don't know that I want to go much further than a year simply because things are moving so fast. But if you want to speculate a couple of years out, that's great. But specifically, what do you focus in on what you're excited about from a marketing technologist standpoint for 2013?
Absolutely. I hit on it a little bit earlier. It's internally we're starting to call it cross-channel analytics. And it's taking those multiple visits and stitching them all together, right? So, Frank, if we can look at you and say it's this person on web, this person on mobile, this person on tablet, and that person's credit card when they checked out at the register, and we can stitch that all together, the ability to market to you is going to be exponential. Right, then we can start talking about pulling in third-party data so we know the subdivision you live in and your level of affluence and just all types of additional data. And I think that's going to change the way a lot of these companies are marketing. I mean, imagine if Delta was to tie in to the SkyMile programs, more Facebook information, right, so that it was predictively saying to me as I picked my seat, the person in this seat also has similar interests to you.
Wow. Well, it's almost endless as you begin to, as you say, interface or what was the term used in webbing them together? I forgot the term you used.
Stitching it all together.
Stitching it. I'm saying, okay. Because obviously we are made up of a lot of different decisions, but when you are able to reach the composite of all of those decisions, you got the propensity of action, and that's kind of an interesting point. Well, unfortunately, I think rightfully so, the subject is very deep. We've kind of scratched upon it. I think you've provided a lot of good information for some of our members and listening audience, but on the other hand, there's a lot more to learn, it's going to be changing. But once again, exciting area, exciting prospects. What you guys are up to is pretty strong and pretty fascinating, and for sure, I know you got to be busy, so I'm going to take this moment to say, Chris, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today on Tech Talk.
Absolutely, Frank, thank you. And if any of your listeners have additional questions, it's Chris at arcsystems.com. They can reach out anytime.